Welcome back. We found our way to the inside of Farley's house and we found a map, which shows us what we've been doing. And it did confirm that when you go through a wall, you seem to end up at least roughly on the other side of where you were. Let's see what else is here. $15. Is that a code for something? We haven't seen any 2-digit number pads. Or maybe it says is. I'm not sure. Piece of paper on the floor. Important? No. Lots of stuff over here, though. Let's see. Can we read any of this? This looks old. Let's see what it says. I shall document the curious events that have transpired with myself, my family, friends, and co-workers. Hartnell was a peaceful mining town founded by my grandfather and nestled within the red rock of the desert in the Arizona Territory. Its 163 inhabitants heard a mighty explosion on the night of June 27, 1903. I sent several workers through the town to verify that the explosion had not caused any injuries or damage to mining equipment. They returned and reported that it must have been a loud clap of thunder caused by dry lightning, for they found no damage. It was not until the light of the next morning that we were amazed to realize something profound had indeed occurred. At some point during that night, our entire mining facility and a large circle of the land around it seemed to have been scooped up and carried off to a completely different place, all without anyone knowing about it. Okay. So I guess Hunref used to be Hartnell, and indeed was transported here, and now we know where it was. It was in Arizona. Guess that makes sense considering what the terrain looks like. Is there more of this? The entire landscape outside of our circle of desert could only be described as alien. Large floating rocks could be seen in the distance. No one had ever seen anything like it anywhere on Earth. We fully explored our new surroundings, hoping to find a way home. No way home was ever found. In fact, we soon discovered what we take for granted now. Not only could we not get back home, we also could not access the landscape outside the desert. Curiously, we discovered that a flow of water was provided from a high point of rock, and we discovered a small tree growing in the very center of the circle. Our central tree that is so important to our lives here was just a mere sapling back then. Why is that tree so important? I wonder if we'll learn more about that. Plenty more to read here, that's for sure. Guess we'll just keep going. Species description. Mofang. Wait, aren't they the people they were fighting? I think they were. Also, the people who provided the technology for those imagers we've seen. Anyway, let's see. Through ambassador seeds. That's the same type of seed that's in the swap machine. The Mofang were the first non-human species humans were introduced to. Anne Liang was the first to call the alien a Mofang, impressed with their advanced ability to imitate our sounds, movement, and mannerisms. Although they have a name for themselves, their language is mostly unpronounceable by humans. As a result, and because of their mimicry abilities, communication with the Mofang is primarily accomplished by their learning human languages, rather than humans learning to speak Mofang. They have been able to learn almost every human language represented in Hunraf, enough to provide functional, if rudimentary, communication. The Mofang basic external morphology is remarkably humanoid. Bilateral symmetrical tetrapods, bipedal, head with anterior facial features, mouth, eyes, nostrils, Other external features include minimal body hair and raised dorsal protrusions. Constitution is somewhat frail due apparently to their thin and lightweight internal structure, but internal investigation has not been possible. They have ample cranial space to account for a substantial brain, and their intelligence is impressive, as evidenced by their advanced technology. Are they the people who abducted us here? Don't know, it doesn't say here. I guess we don't like them since we were fighting them, or maybe they didn't like us. But they did give us stuff. Weird. I guess that's a drawing of what one looks like. Indeed, remarkably humanoid. So they are really aliens then. Weird. There's more. Different species, I guess. The Eri. After a certain level of maturity and health of the tree, a passage opened at its base. This passage allowed contact with 2 additional species. The first contact was with the Eri. The first contact revealed the Eri to be large beetle-like insects. Oh, those are the things we've been seeing. The bees. I'm guessing, at least. And they got there via the tree. We definitely need to get to that tree, don't we? We were unable to communicate directly with them in any way, but they appeared to have some rudimentary level of intelligence. It was Luring Toff, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, who first made the journey through the heart to Captar, and named both the New World and the inhabitants. Captar is a different world? Is that where we just were? Don't know. The Eri have 3 distinct variants that have come to be referred to as barnacle, beetle, and polyarch. Although their morphology is dramatically different from human, their internal systems, like all of our neighbors, are supported by similar atmospheric composition and basic nutrients. In their barnacle stage, the Eri are completely immobile. The Eri stay in this egg-like development state seemingly indefinitely. In order to hatch, they must be in proximity of a polyarch, and fertilized by the beetles after a certain stage of maturity. The beetles are the eyes and ears, hands and feet. With only a minimal nervous system of their own, they are essentially the sensory extensions of the immobile polyarchs. They are able to execute simple commands, but apparently have very little in the way of individual sentience. Kind of reminds me of the primes from Peter Hamilton's Commonwealth saga, where a central intelligent thing that does not move, and workers that are not that intelligent, but can be instructed by the polyarchs in this case. Would be a prime immotile in that story. Is that the beetle thing? I guess so. That is what we've been seeing, minus the wings, I guess. What are they doing here? I guess we're not meddling them. They haven't been hostile towards us, at least. The Eri polyarchs are the intelligence and consciousness of the species. Although it was obvious that there was intelligence behind the species, it wasn't until Carolyn Farley began spending large amounts of time in close proximity that deeper communication began. With a room nearby, Farley was the first to communicate non-verbally and learn much about the species, including some historical information. The Eri species survived in their world while several other sentient species came and went. Among them an ancient species who formed a deeper relationship with the Eri, carving temples and dwellings for them in the rocks. And later, a more recent species that took over much of their homeworld. This latter species was especially adept at mechanical construction, using it mostly to capture and process large flying creatures, using the beetles as bait. That doesn't seem very nice of them. Is that what a polyarch looks like, maybe? Or just a beetle from the bottom? I'm not sure. Villain. The final species to be discovered were the Villain. The Villain had been communicating with the Eri for many years through ambassador seeds, but became part of the larger community very shortly after the Eri. With a large and imposing frame, and a form of communication based on a complex, multi-voiced low-frequency rumble, the initial introductions were intimidating. After several attempts, Amélie Vidal was able to begin some rudimentary communication and began visiting the Villain in Marais, which she named, on a regular basis. She discovered a complex and amazing society that was able to use their technology in unexpected ways. They had the ability to quickly transform their world using extruded structures based on some form of complex miniature substrate material. Sounds like 3D printing or something like that. Maybe a very advanced form of that. Since the place we were in from the swap machine in the previous video contained stuff that reminded me of the Villain technology we've seen, like the blue laser and the number pad, maybe we were in fact in Marais. It's possible. Unlike the other worlds, the Villain sphere is scooped out of a Villain resettlement group that was preparing to set off into space to find a new homeworld. This was their way of life, to put themselves into stasis and scatter themselves through the stars. As mentioned previously, their appearance is imposing, standing about 9 feet tall, with a distinct reptilian resemblance. They have 6 limbs, 2 muscular legs and arms, and a smaller set of arms. They control every aspect of their technology with their vocalizations. But over the years they have created control panels based on their number system that allow other species to easier access elements of their technology. Oh, I guess that's what we saw. They are quite imposing. Weird tiny little arms they have. And that's the last page. But it is not the last notebook. So there's more to read. Fun. Communication. Talking with our neighbors. We take communication for granted, even with the varied languages we find here in Hunrath. But when we suddenly find ourselves among other intelligent species who don't share our culture, history, DNA, or vocal cords, it requires a huge amount of effort for the beginning of rudimentary chatting. This quick overview will set the stage for what to expect when communicating with our neighbors. Maybe we'll end up talking to some of these people. Premium means quality. Good slogan for whatever company made this legal pad. The Mofang. The Mofang were the first non-humans we met. With at least some level of similar physical vocal generating abilities, they picked up human words quickly. This early mimicry resulted in what the species became to be called. Yeah, I think Mofang is like a Chinese word meaning like imitator or something like that. Even though they were able to mimic single words and simple phrases, it became evident over the years that huge grammatical differences were not easily overcome. Some have proposed that the difficulty may have arisen because the Mofang insisted on attempting to learn every human language, and as a result were never able to lock onto any consistent grammatical structure. Nevertheless, in spite of the rudimentary sentence construction, it has been very easy to communicate, and it has been unnecessary for us to learn their language beyond a few simple phrases and proper names. If you'd like to learn more about communication with the Mofang, please contact Tam. Well, that's going to be a bit difficult because no one's here. Villain. The Villain have presented a particular communication challenge. From what we can gather, they produce sounds using 2 large reed-like structures inside opposite sides of their heads. The vibrations generated are channeled to resonate chambers in their skulls, where they are combined into a complex low-frequency dual tone. The low-frequency bitonal sounds are not only hard for humans to hear and resolve, but impossible for us to mimic. And the Villain's hearing is also oriented towards low frequency, so they are unable to hear most sounds associated with human speech. Therefore, communication with the Villain has relied on technology. They have adapted consoles, which the Villain fluently control with their vocalization, for use by other species. Over the years, some individuals of other species, including a few humans, have learned to communicate very effectively using this method. Humans have been able to pick out some higher frequency characteristics of certain key Villain words over the years, and although we can't speak to them in a way that the Villains can understand, we are occasionally able to hear and recognize these words when spoken distinctly by the Villain. If you'd like to learn more about communication with the Verlaine, please contact Vito. Eri. None of the stages of the Eri morphology have any vocalization apparatus. Because of the obvious synchronization of the barnacle flash and the ability of the pawns to provide for and address the needs of the polyarchs, it was assumed that the species could communicate effectively. It was not until Farley began to spend large amounts of time in the polyarch antechamber that the first clues to this communication became evident. After months of research, Farley began to have limited success with receiving some kind of simple messages that were coming from the polyarchs. It is apparent now that the polyarchs had been attempting to communicate the entire time, but they themselves had been experimenting with various channels until they finally got a response from Farley. After this breakthrough, others were able to tune in to the polyarchs and learn to listen. Both the polyarchs and the pawns have a simple organ that can sense human vocal frequency, enabling them to send simple responses from humans. But over the years, Farley was able to learn to speak to the polyarchs via a related form of extrasensory transmission. If you'd like to learn more about communication with the Eri, please contact Farley. Sounds like they're like telepathic or something. I wonder how Farley learned how to do that. So I guess what we're learning about here is various different people who live in other worlds that are reachable from here, like that jungle world we were just in. It seems there are 3 of them: the Mofang, who we are apparently fighting for some reason, the Verlaine, and the Eri, who we've already seen, the beetles at least, flying around here. I wonder what they're doing here. One more notebook on this table. Seed information. That looks like the thing that took us from the lake to Hunrath. And that was inside it, so I guess that was a seed. Let's see, ambassador seeds. Those are the ones that we think are used in that machine that we used to go to the jungle world. Ambassador seeds were first documented about 150 Earth years ago. They occur about once every 400 days, if the trees remain healthy. Natural seed swaps occur between pairs of seeds that, we now know, dropped simultaneously from healthy trees in a paired sphere. When each seed was touched by a species in sphere, a swap occurred, sending an ambassador from each sphere to the paired sphere. Location of the swap is defined by the locations of the pairs of seeds. After the first swap, the seeds recharged quickly, allowing for a quick return. First meetings were intense, but naturally short. It was quite a surprise for both the Mofang and us. Over time, the seeds require more time to recharge, producing longer visits between species. Collector seeds. Everyone who arrives is familiar with the collector seeds. The bright light that we were all drawn to right before the event that brought us here is a collector seed. What new arrivals may not be aware of is that these seeds, like all seeds, come in pairs. When the tree drops a collector seed on the ground, it signals that its twin has begun a quest for a new being. That search may take hours, or it may take years. When an appropriate situation, a natural threat of death, is found, the seed activates and swaps a smaller, but varying sized, sphere from Earth, or whatever appropriate homeworld, here to Hunrath. As Hunrath became more populated, we would watch for a newly dropped collector seed, collect it, and place it in the entry canyon area. This allowed us to provide a more predictable entry experience for new arrivers, and provide a single area to collect any resources that may have come along with the new arriver. Unlike ambassador seeds and mother seeds, collector seeds do not seem to survive. The inner core is spent, leaving only the lifeless outer husk. Mother seeds, postulated but unverified. First suggested by Alima Hamza, 2232BH, before Hunrath, is my best guess there. The notion of mother seeds extrapolates the behavior of the lesser seeds to a super seed. She posited that the process that actually created the paired spheres was similar to all other swaps, but on a much grander scale. The idea is that 2 seeds from a mother tree were scattered on the galactic winds to find appropriately similar environments. When matches were found, some process was triggered that swapped large portions of landscape between vastly different worlds. Alima further noted that the trees' locations in the center of the spheres suggested that the trees grew from these mother seeds. Because of the similarities, it has been conjectured that reswapping the entire environmental spheres might be possible with a larger scale version of the Ambassador seed machine. So it sounds like these are seeds presumably produced by that tree that's in the center of town. So we have ambassador seeds that apparently go to these other worlds that are somehow linked to this one. The collector seeds, which are apparently what brought us here, and the same thing seems to happen to other people. And then mother seeds is what they think brought the entire town here. Apparently also swapping it with something. Interesting. I'm assuming a normal new visitor would have someone here who could explain some of that stuff and answer questions because, well, I do have a lot of questions. What else is here? There is a thing. Looks like a projector. That looks like it's showing a spot on the map. That is... Let's see, we went up to the wall on this side where the bridge is, and then we went back and came out this side and walked across the wall here. So that is where we found that other locked door. Can we do anything else with this? Looks like we can move it. The only logical place to move it to would be there, but that doesn't seem to look like anything. Can move it across the walls, but it doesn't seem to achieve much. Nope. Anything else we can do? Oh, change slide. Yeah, that doesn't look like anything. Maybe if we move that one around? Wait a second. It's not quite. Can I pull this down further? I can. My shadow is being annoying. Blocking my light. Now this actually looks like that number panel we saw in the gas station. So maybe we should try entering this pattern in there and see what that does. It doesn't look like it would be a valid number in the number system as we learned it. Maybe it's something special. Anything behind here? Bunch of books in here. Nothing we can use. Can we go out this door? No, that one was boarded up, so I don't think so. Switch that back off. So the light doesn't burn out, and whoever else comes here can use it. Keep wanting to see if the papers on the floor are anything, but I don't think any of them are. Another notebook. Welcome to Hunraf. Please give us a bit of information about you so we can get to know you a little better. Name, date you came from, please use 4-digit year. Where you came from, country and city. Circumstances under which you were taken. Please note any dangers you noted. Emptied and filed, 12,000 AH. After Hunrath, I guess? 13,000 AH, 15,000 AH. Either they've been here a very, very long time, or those are not years. Let's see. Samuel Karen, January 2017. Hey, that's now. I'm recording that in January 17, but it's only January 1st, 2017 as of this recording, so did this guy come from the future? It's definitely after this game was released. He came from Manakara, Madagascar. I had just arrived and was driving my supply truck along the coast, south of Manakara, when I recall being washed away and the seed appeared. 15,257 AH, male 61. Aziel? This is hard to read. Regenbogen. Wait, he's German? This sounds more Dutch, though. Means rainbows. 1942? March? Lübeck, Germany. The last thing I recall is a large rumbling while I was hiding in the cellar of a vacant building. I ran towards a bright light in a stairwell. I have a feeling this guy may have died in an air raid or something, or was about to die in an air raid before he was rescued, or something like that, by the seed. 15,841 AH. Male 26. Wait a second. This guy arrived after the one from 2017. That makes no sense. How did somebody from 1942 get here after someone from 2017? Guess those seats do more than transport you through space. Maria Gallego, September 1988. Cozumel, Mexico. Probably not how you pronounce that, but I've never been good at Spanish names. On my boat and bad storm. 16,023 AH, female 46. Flying Qiu? Something like that? March of 2042. Whoa. Portland, United States of America. Skiing Mount Hood. 16,717 AH, male 37. This is weird. They're just coming from all kinds of different time periods in no particular order. Unless these aren't dates. And they were filling in this book in a very weird order. Interesting. There's about 600 whatevers between those. And then that's only 200. And then 700, so not much of a pattern there, I guess. But then I guess it did say that in the notebook. That the collector's seats could take days or years. I still don't think those are years. 600 years between arrivals is an awfully long time to keep using the same notebook. Somebody was playing poker by the looks of it. Pair of kings. I guess they use this as a community center as well as a place to welcome new arrivals. What is that? Crumpled piece of paper as far as I can make out. Doesn't seem to have any significance. Nor do any of these books on the floor. What's over here? A backer reward item. My brother, small and nice, sings constantly, as noisy as a rock concert, if only he would be quiet. Okay. That's pretty random. Alright, let's see. This is a diagram of something. Step 1, seed pair, question mark. 2, find planets with similar atmospheres. Earth and Soria. Apparently that's where the Mofang are. Step 3, swap. Oh, I guess that would mean these would be that mother seed, swapping apparently between Earth and Soria. 4, tree from seed. That might be the ambassador seed then, letting people travel to the other places. And the other way to get there was through the heart, which is apparently under the tree. Again, we need to get to that tree. Heart connected, path open when mature. Heart superposition, 4 species meet. So it looks like there's 4 spheres in total. The yellow one is Earth, and the red one is Soria, and then there's a green one and a blue one. What happens at fruition? Swap where? Home? When? Maybe dead. So I guess they're wondering what happens when the tree fully matures. Maybe they go back home? But yeah, at what time? If people have been coming here from all these different time periods, then there's no telling where you might go back to or when you might go back to. So maybe everybody you know is dead. Or maybe you would die when that happens. Who knows? More seed pairs scattered throughout the universe? Why scattering? Those are all very good questions. What else is here? Drawings? Mostly made by kids, by the looks of it. Not sure what any of it is supposed to be. It's kind of hard to look closely. Some of these may be Mofang, or I guess that could be Verlaine. No idea what that is. This is a bunch of very angry looking people. Don't know what it is. That's a creepy looking koala, I guess? Not sure. And a tape recorder. Let's see what's on it. Do we need to rewind it? I guess we do. Let's see what this says.
Well, I feel like I should say something. We haven't heard from Shavar. So, well, so we assume that Shavar, well, the attack is inevitable. We just don't know when. So, Shavar and her family, and others she trusts, I guess. Well, they'll arrive when they can, without giving, like covertly. So the plan will happen, in spite of our, my God. We're as much as possible here and moving everybody out. CW will stay here, and I'll go to Murray at the last possible moment. Most are gone. There's just a few left here now. The mayor got out early. I don't even know why I'm recording this. It's like somehow we'll live on or something. I guess this has meaning if someone listens, but who? A new one? A new arriver. Oh, God, the kiosk out front. I need to update that message.
This seems to be Farley talking about preparations for that attack from presumably the Mofang. Guess whoever Shavar was supposed to check if there was gonna be an attack, or maybe it was a scout, or I don't know. Anything else on this tape? It's still running. Oh, and now we reach the end. That's a short tape. So I guess they got everybody out of town and we're locking up, which is what we've been undoing. And it looks like we can reverse this tape. Cool. See what's on the other side.
We all lost everything. Everything but our stories. And they shouldn't be forgotten. I was 3. It was April of 1983. Cecil, it was 1870 for you. Sam and Vera, you tell it like it was yesterday, but it's been 62 years since you saw that blast of light. And that's where all of our news stories began, that light. It streaked across the sky, mesmerizing, but unnerving. Some of you were alone, I wasn't. My dear grandma, God bless her, rejoiced as if it was some forebearer of good fortune. Vera, you said you recall smiling. None of us understood. But, well, we followed. Whether it was in the deep woods like Cecil or right outside town like Jane and Jenny, we were drawn to see more. Grandma lifted me from the carriage on the porch and walked into the yard so we could watch it unobstructed. Even in daylight, Joseph, you said it was gloriously bright. But in the twilight, it was spellbinding. And we all felt some kind of trepidation, and yet attraction as we approached it, and it approached us. So close, so radiant, and that sound, deep and vibrant, organic. You all remember, there was no turning away. It advanced, almost like purposefully spinning slowly until, well, it found us, each of us. We should tell these stories because it saved us, and there must be more. I was watching the sunrise.
It was about 2:30 in the morning. December 26, 1948.
May 7th, 2009. September 3rd, 1995.
I was down by the river.
I was hiking in the desert. In the park with my grandson.
I looked up and saw
A brilliant flash of light that
Exploded in the sky.
the light, it flew into the clouds and behind the trees and
it disappeared. I looked around and, to see.
see if there was anyone around.
See if anyone else had seen what I had seen.
There was no one around.
They all saw it too. Mom definitely saw it. Well, it was just beautiful. There was something calming about it.
Yeah, I don't mind telling you, I was kind of freaking out. I tried to follow it, trying to get a better look at it.
Wanted to see it again.
I came to a place where it had disappeared.
Overlooked, but I found nothing. And it streaked through the sky again.
It seemed like it was looking for something.
Or looking for someone. And then it found me. And it found me.
Found me.
Found me.
Found me.
Found me. Found me.
And it found me.
So, at least partially, that was the same story we heard in the beginning when we were walking by the lake, talking about the bright light that brought us here. It seems that the same thing has happened to a lot of people after the initial swap of Hunrath itself. They all came here, all with varying circumstances under which it happened. The only thing that it seems to be in common is that they were all in some kind of danger, which is why they were speculating in some of the notes that this light actually saved them. I couldn't really tell if we were in danger in the beginning by the lake. I guess there was a pretty bad lightning storm about to happen, so maybe we were. Maybe we were saved by being brought here. Unfortunately, nobody else was here, apparently because of this attack that was going to happen. It does make you wonder if the town itself was in any kind of danger before it was taken to this weird alien landscape. Very strange indeed. What does all of this mean? Can we go home again? Well, one of the documents suggested that maybe with a larger version of the same kind of swap machine that we already used, we could go home. But how would we accomplish that? For now, though, we need to figure out what we can do with some of the information we found here, especially that pattern, which seems to be for the Villain number machine. So let's head back there and check that out. But we'll do that in the next video.